say mayo, people think plain creamy white stuff. And for me, mayo is a vehicle for flavor. I am constantly, when I'm home, stirring things into mayonnaise to make it more interesting than just fat, eggs, and acid.
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. We've long been fans of cookbook author and creative thinker Molly Baz, and many of you have too. With a signature voice and absolutely wild recipe development skills, as well as years of professional cooking under her belt, Molly has won over millions of fans worldwide. Her cookbooks, Cook This Book and More is More, are both New York Times bestsellers, and she returns to the show to give us some big updates, including what restaurants she's enjoying in Los Angeles. We also talk about her jump into the CPG game with the launch of a new line of flavored mayonnaise, Ayoh. Also on the show, Clayton and I taste our way through Molly's new Mayo, Ayoh, to see if the dill pickle is really hitting. I hope you enjoy this conversation. Molly Baz, welcome to This Is Taste. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm so good. Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. I'm a little crazed at the moment, but it's a good craze.
Absolutely. Well, we're here to talk about a brand new product you have and about really your vision with products in general, because you, I think, have such a cool point of view, and you're very selective, obviously, but you have like a real eye for doing cool things. So we'll talk about that.
Great. Can't wait.
So, but before we get to that, what's good in LA restaurant wise? Are you able to hit up any local spots? I always like to get your take on this.
Oh, where am I eating? I feel like this was maybe my answer the last time you asked me, but I'll tell you where I ate last night, and it's not a new spot. It's an old standby, my forever go-to. Houston's is my favorite restaurant in LA, which is kind of sad. But they just deliver every time. It's something about the chilled martini glass swap out mid-meal that just keeps me coming back.
Yes.
So I go there probably twice a month. But then where else have I been eating? I eat at this place called Yang's Kitchen a lot in Alhambra. Have you been there?
I was there 2 weeks ago. Thank you for bringing that up. It is honestly one of my favorite restaurants this year. I was able to go for the first time.
It's so good.
Why do you
I feel
like it?
like it had like a moment a couple of years ago where I was like hearing about it all the time, and it was really hard to get into. And then for whatever reason, people talk about it less. I think because it's maybe just kind of far out. But they're like the respect for ingredients, so the quality of ingredients that come out of that kitchen is so high. And I am forever in search of like a Japanese breakfast plate that I really like in LA. And this is not a Japanese restaurant, as you know, but their market breakfast plate is about as close as I have found to it, which comes with like a bowl of multi-grain rice and a soy egg and a piece of marinated and grilled fish and some pickles. And like, if I could eat like that every morning for the rest of my life, I feel like I'd live long and happy.
That you can also swap in eggs and like steak if you want. Dude, the scrambled eggs were like doing a relatively high volume restaurant. I just like the quality of ingredients, totally agree. But just like the technique is like clearly as good as it gets. It's an amazing place. And the Weiser melon soft serve, did you get to try that ever?
I missed it. And everyone was like, did you have the soft serve? And I was like, I've had so many others, but I think I like skipped that month or something.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
I love that. I love Yang's Kitchen is on your list. We're going to be out there in December doing some recording with them. So I'm excited to go back. Love it. Okay, so let's jump in and talk about the launch of Ayoh and in general. First off, before we get to this new launch, how do you look at collaborations? And I think you've been really well positioned to do collaborations just with your rising profile and your books, but you clearly are not just chasing the bag, as they say. I think you have a really good eye, as I mentioned at the top, and it's just really cool. But how do you think about them?
It's a great question. I feel like there's a lot of kind of just opportunities that come my way through many different channels. And I sort of put them through this litmus test of like, there are a few pillars to my brand, I guess we'll call it a brand, but to my work that I do in the world that are really important to me. And those are teaching people how to cook and feed themselves or feeding people directly. Like those are the two most important things to me in my work. And so my cookbooks obviously fuel the teaching people how to cook category pillar there. And then my wine company falls under the category of feeding people, or rather hydrating people. And when I do like events and restaurant pop-ups, that falls into that category. And so I kind of look at all collaborations as like, if they don't fit under one of those main goals, then they're probably not worth my time. And so there's been a new category now that has like recently sort of, or a new pillar that I've sort of fallen into, which is around like motherhood and breastfeeding, which at the end of the day is also feeding. So you could argue falls under that category of feeding people. But those are kind of the things that are really important to me in my life. And so I look at collaborations as an opportunity to go deeper into one of those. And if not, it's probably not a good fit.
Really, really well said. And when you're taking that first meeting or that Zoom with a possible partner, what's the question you always ask?
I like to suss out how collaborative a brand is and how much they want to hear my ideas. I've gotten into a lot of conversations with brands where they come to me because they want to work with me and they want my creativity, but then they've got such a rigid and strict sort of marketing plan in place already that it doesn't really open things up for me to do what I'm really good at, which is like think about where the crossover between us could be and what feels really authentic to me. And so I'm always, it's maybe not a question, but I'm always trying to suss out an opportunity for like, can I really be me in this partnership, or am I just pretending to be someone that I'm not?
Yeah, and I feel Crate and Barrel is a great example. I bought a few pieces from that, so I look at your vibe every day in my home kitchen, and it was actually a gift from my wife tomorrow, so props to her. But like with that collab, clearly Crate and Barrel has an aesthetic. You kind of like broke it a little bit with your product line.
When you walked in that Crate and Barrel store and everything was either like ivory or gray or some other muted neutral tone, and then there was just like the one Molly Boz display that was like basically looked like it had like dropped acid. Yeah, that was a perfect example of a brand that I think like followed through on the promise of bringing someone in to collaborate because they actually wanted their ideas and weren't trying to like fit them into what they thought the prototype should be. And Crate and Barrel was in their creative team and their creative director were so incredible about like they were just yes people through and through. I was like, I want to do seafood towers and everything to be primary colors. And they were like, yes, yes, and yes. And I think that the collaboration was a great success because of that, because people saw it and immediately were like, oh, that's Molly Boz's line. Like that makes sense. And so more of that.
Yeah. Are you going to re-up with them? I mean, it feels like that was successful and like looking at that collab, did it do what you wanted it to do?
It did, definitely. Like I still, just like you just said, like I have people who will come up to me and be like, I love your salt and pepper shakers. And like, they're in my kitchen. And I don't know if we'll do another one. We had talked about it at one point. I think that for them, like if I'm putting my Crate and Barrel hat on and I'm on their team, I'm kind of like, okay, that was a great success. Now, how do we do that another 100 times with another 100 really incredible creators? Because like sort of the effect of bringing in this like totally new energy is so powerful. So if I were them, I probably would be like, let's repeat that now in many different sectors with different individuals who bring something new.
I got it. Yeah. I think you're thinking big, which I like. I mean, you definitely want to expand with them. I think the Trivet's my favorite, by the way. That's my guy. All right, so let's talk about the topic at hand. Ayo, you've just launched this mayo. I've admittedly not tried it because I think it's under lock and key somewhere in New
Oh, we'll
York.
get you some ASAP.
I know you
We
will.
have our first line of samples ready to rock, so I will get them to you.
Well, I can't wait to try them, and I think it's a really really cool choice. And first off, just as a category, I do not think you will push back when I say that America has some pretty fucking good mayo. So why launch your own mayo?
You're right about that. There are some brands that make some pretty fucking good mayo, and I love mayo. And I sort of sussed out and discovered what I think is like a little white space in the market that involves mayo, which is that like in every other condiment category under the sun, like your hot sauces and your mustards, your whatever, every condiment category has really expanded and opened up to like new flavors. And mayo has stayed pretty strictly mayo. And there are, of course, a few brands that are making like a chipotle mayo or a sriracha mayo. And like it's starting to experiment a little bit with like what else can we add to mayo. But for the most part, when you say mayo, people think plain creamy white stuff. And for me, mayo is a vehicle for flavor. And it's an incredible condiment because it's fatty and creamy and viscous, and it adds moistness. It is basically the sauce on a great sandwich or in a great salad dressing. But it doesn't need to stop there. And I am constantly, when I'm home, stirring things into mayonnaise to make it more interesting than just fat, eggs, and acid. And so it kind of got me thinking, like, how do we blow open this category that's been in its lane for so long and start adding shit to mayo and making it even better and even giving it even more personality? And so that's where Ayoh kind of was born. And we are launching a plain creamy mayo
Oh,
that
cool.
I think is really good. And I'm excited for you to try it, that I think will compete with the best of them. But that's not really the focal point of this brand. The focal point of this brand is like, I believe that people make mediocre sandwiches at home, and it's not their fault by any means. It's the fault of the fact that like it kind of takes a lot of work and a lot of tricks to make a really great sandwich. Like you got to have really great pickles and chilies and condiments and spreads and pestos and marinades and the right vinegar, and it's a lot, and people aren't willing to spend that much time on a sandwich because it's a sandwich. Whereas when you go out to a really great sandwich shop, they've spent a lot of time prepping out all of these like special condiments, ingredients for your sandwich, and that's what makes it superlative. So the idea behind these, as we call them, mayo gone wild, is it's like all the flavor and all of that artisanal technique that you find at a sandwich shop thrown into one bottle of mayonnaise that you can just slap on a piece of bread, pile up with some turkey, cheese, lettuce, and tomato, and like you have a truly mind-blowing sandwich at home.
Yeah, you are absolutely tapping into the zeitgeist too with these flavors, because I think one in particular sticks out is dill mayo, because I feel like I've never seen a dill mayo sold commercially, and the other one is just giardineo, which I'm imagining is just, it's like that giardinera right vibe happening, because again I haven't tried these products, but tell me about those two and then the other ones you're launching.
Yeah, so the giardineo, which we actually call hot giardineo, is the name of it, was the first flavor that I developed. And it was sort of like the impetus for this entire brand, where during the pandemic, I was at home. And like I said, I was busy stirring shit into mayo. This was while I was while I was working on my sandwich podcast, the Sandwich Universe. And so I was making a lot of sandwiches at the time. And I was stirring a lot of shit into mayo and just seeing where it took me. And one of the first things I grabbed was a jar of Marconi hot giardinera, the Chicago style hot pickled vegetables. And I was with my manager at the time, and I remember distinctly being like, dude, why is nobody putting giardinera in their mayo? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
we literally looked at each other and we're like, Giardineo is like $1 billion business. And um, it stuck with us. And so when the opportunity to develop this line came around, that was the first SKU that I worked on. And so it's exactly like you said. It's got Chicago style giardiniera, finely chopped, but in like pieces that are sizable enough that like you feel the texture. And that's one of the big components of this brand, is that it's not just smooth and creamy. It's also packed with texture and pickles and little pops of acid. And so it's meant to lend more than just fat to a sandwich. So it's got that. It's got Calabrian chili paste.
Oh, that's what I was hoping for, because I was like, Calabrian chili needs to be in this combination, and that's the best. Nice.
It's got a bunch of acid, both in the form of like vinegar powder and traditional vinegar, a little bit of sweetness and some spices, some other things. So it's really like that's like your hot sauce lovers, Chicago beef lovers SKU. And then we've got as you mentioned, the dill pickle mayo, which yes, is tapping into a zeitgeist moment of everything dill pickle flavored in the world. And if I didn't think it was so fucking delicious, I probably wouldn't tap in. But it's an undeniable flavor combination. And because of like all of the juiciness and the acid and the brightness in dill pickle, it's a perfect foil for mayonnaise. So that one, it has lots of little dill pickles chopped up. It has...
And that's like egg salad, I'm thinking. Like egg salad, like put that in egg salad. Yeah.
Put it in egg salad, put it in tuna, and like throw it in a can of tuna fish and stir it up, and you have like dill pickle tuna salad. It's so good.
Yeah.
And or just like slap it on bread and throw some turkey on it, because a dill pickle mayo slathered turkey sandwich is an undeniably good time. And then the third flavored SKU that we have coming out at launch is our Dijon Ayoh, which is something that people are probably more familiar with. But again, it's like, why aren't there more Dijon Ayohs on the market? We all know what it is. It's a mashup of mustard and mayonnaise. And ours has a couple different kinds of mustard. So there's pickled mustard seeds in there as well as Dijon. So there's little pops of texture from the pickled mustard seed. And then we also have added a bunch of chopped cornichons, so like little French baby cornichon pickles. And so this is kind of like your French country mustard mayo cornichon moment. It's incredible on a ham and cheese like baguette sandwich.
Oh man, yeah. And like we know that one brand, obviously, but like how it sounds like just texturally, this is your differentiator. Like you have pops of seeds and you have like actual texture, which I think with a nice ground grain mustard, you get, right?
Totally. That's kind of the whole thing here, is like you get the creaminess, but then you also get something to bite into. Like it's a replacement for a pickle. There are tons of chopped pickles on there. You're getting little juicy pops of vinegar as you eat through your sandwich. There's spices in there. There's little Calabrian chili peppers in some of them. So they're really meant to be like a textural experience as much as a flavor experience.
Man, I can't wait to try them. I'm gonna come on the show and definitely give it a little taste test. So did you come up with the name?
So the name Ayoh, we were like, I don't know, very early on in concepting. I had just started working on the development of the recipes. This was actually about a year ago. I think it was at a Halloween party a year ago. We were sitting around with a bunch of our friends. We were like, guys, what do we call our mayo company? And one of my friends, who's like kind of very soft-spoken and under the radar, his name is Noah. He just kind of like quietly was like, Ayoh? And we were like, I'm sorry, what did you say? And he was like, Ayoh? And we were like, I mean, we're done here. That's obviously like, it's a name that sounds like it belongs in your fridge. And it's like, it feels like the type of name that will be around forever. And that's what we were looking for. And it's obviously a play on the word mayo. And it's like a nod to like that dorky thing that people do when they're like, Ayoh.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it feels like a rallying title.
I love it, and I think it really speaks to a generational change in Mayo, and like clearly this is like a new Mayo for a new generation of Mayo lovers in some ways. I know you're not like targeting like a group of like millennial whatever, but it sounds like this is a signal to the industry, and I'll get to a question with the industry that there's a new Mayo in town.
Yeah, like watch the fuck out, y'all.
I love that. All right, my question about the industry is so Molly, this is like your from my read. I don't know all your products, but it seems like this is like your big debut in CPG. And like we cover CPG quite a bit on the show. We've had many founders on, and like the world is insane, and like getting into grocery is complicated. And of course, you have partners to help you with this, but how do you feel about entering the grocery store with a product?
Oh, I am so excited to get to the place, which I know will not happen overnight, but I hopefully will happen within the next couple months, years, whatever, where I can walk into like my average ass grocery store or go visit my parents upstate and walk through the aisles. And next to the Hellmans and next to the Heinz, there's Ayo. Like that will be the absolute dream moment for me. And like you said, I'm not doing this alone. One thing that I know, and I've learned, I learned early on in my career is that it is unwise to try to take on everything and to try to be everything at once and fill every role at once. And so I am like the first person to um, empower or employ someone else to do something that they're better at than I am. And so I have a business partner in this, David McCormick, who has a lot of experience in the CPG space and launching brands in grocery, worked on the grocery side.
Yeah.
And so I am hoping that he will shepherd us in to the grocery aisles. But until then, Ayo will launch online for starters,
Yeah.
and then we'll be in, a lot of those cute little shoppy shop gourmet markets until we figure out our big grocery play. And then I also really want to pursue a food service play down the line
Yeah, of
because
course.
like I walk into a Jersey Mike's and I'm like, where's the Ayo? You know what I mean? Like there's the oil, there's the vinegar, there's the yellow mustard, there's the mayo. Like there is such an opportunity here to have like a couple of Ayo SKUs in a Subway or a Jersey Mike's. And I'm excited to see whether that kind of happens.
Yeah, I mean, food service is like key for any condiment. I mean, just looking at the scale of it, and of course, with the media that you can provide and just like that general boosting of the product, it makes a lot of sense to partner with a brand, with a franchise. I think about Sir Kensington's a bit, and if you don't think about them, that's cool. But it seems like Sir Kensington's maybe crawl so you could walk a little bit because like that was a company that took on obviously ketchup, but also they had their own mayo lines. But like they failed ultimately, and we don't need to relitigate their history. It's not your role, my role either. But like it seems like this is a challenging category to break into.
Yeah, I think that the thing for me anyway, the thing about like ketchup and where that company started is that I actually don't think it's humanly possible to make a better ketchup.
I
And
fully
so
agree. Fully agree.
so that for me was like the first mistake, I guess. And I wonder had they come into the market with a different condiment, whether it would have been more successful. But I distinctly remember being like, why is someone trying to reinvent Heinz? Like I was kind of fired up about it. And whereas with mayonnaise, I think that like there is a lot of brand loyalty for sure, but also there are people who like different brands of mayo for different things. So like for example, I've historically been a Duke's lover. I
Yeah.
didn't grow up on it because it wasn't available in upstate New York. It was Hellman's in upstate New York, which is Best Foods on the West Coast. But for like a simple sandwich, I like a Duke's. But then there's a time and a place when I'm seeking umami that I reach for a QP. And so I feel like there is more flexibility in the mayo space than you may think there is in terms of like room in people's hearts.
Yeah, no, it's a well said, Molly. I think you're absolutely right. I think that we are way more open to experimenting with mustards and mayos and having a couple in our fridge than of course 57, which is everyone loves that. You know, I want to ask you. People don't like mayo. There's like a lot of people, and they come on the show a bit. Is this the mayo for the folks who don't like mayo?
I honestly think so. I really do. And so part of like what I want to do with the content around Ayo is try to flip Mayo haters into Mayo
Yeah.
lovers. Because I get it. I think that there's something like psychologically disturbing about the idea of oil like emulsified into eggs into this like weird white creamy substance. But I think that when you start to introduce acid and spice, pickles, texture, and other ingredients, it's a bridge back to a safer place for people. You know, mayo haters still love mustard and pickles and hot sauce, and so this is, I think, going to be a good gateway drug for those folks.
I mean, listen, I just gave you like the ultimate softball question. And, I did that because I knew you would come to play. And I'm continuing the metaphor. But I think like listeners out there, it's such a good point about like mayonnaise. It can be quite gross, like truly, if you think about it. But when Molly just said about acid, about bringing flavor and like adding fat to non-fat, like to vegetables and bread, which doesn't have a lot of fat, is food science, and that creates a real moment of marriage between I'm not getting into lipid science here, but like it's like how good food tastes better. So you did a good job there. Nice. I love that answer.
Well, yeah, and I always say to people like, would you ever eat a salad without dressing on it? No. Would you
Exactly.
ever Actually, I do have one friend who does, but that's a very particular case. Would you ever eat a bowl of cereal without milk? Probably not voluntarily, because food needs moisture and like lubrication. It needs sauce in order to sing and to like move around your palate in a pleasant way. And mayonnaise is just trying to be out here like serving that purpose. That's all it's trying to do.
And you're not supposed to eat it straight, guys. Like that's the other thing. I think people who don't like mayonnaise have maybe like dipped their finger into a jar. I mean, I'm not saying that's bad, but like that is probably not the best use of mayonnaise.
Yeah, maybe a
Yep.
fresh aioli with some like delicious hot fries is a dipping moment, but like, however, these Ayo SKUs are incredible as dips because they have so much more going on. So
Yeah.
I have absolutely dunked French fries into the hot giardineo and dunked Lay's potato chips into the dill pickle mayo, and it's phenom.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you, and I just think like it sometimes can be just out of the like the jar of whatever it may be is just not great. Okay, Molly, I want to ask you about motherhood a little bit. How has new motherhood, changed the way you're cooking at home? I know you've been public about having a child, and you've definitely are very honest. So I want to get a sense of this.
It's a great question. I am learning to let go of some of the rigidity and rules that I have abided by for so long in the kitchen. And this will actually be a really interesting conversation when my next book comes out, because I am working on that as we speak. And it's it's teaching me so much about like unlearning things in the kitchen, because as someone who kind of got my training working in restaurants, there are a lot of techniques that I have historically held really high and closely to my heart in cooking, and I've sort of had this like upturned nose around um, taking too many shortcuts, because I can't like break free from the training that I've
Yeah.
gotten in restaurants.
What a negotiation you must make. I mean, you're a restaurant chef. You work in restaurants, and you certainly can't do that every night right now.
And
Yeah.
a lot of like my career thus far has been me figuring out like what is the workaround, what is the hack here that's going to bring like that level of flavor to someone's home kitchen without all of the effort. But like I'm at this point now with where I'm at with cooking and with having a child that like I'm taking that to like a whole new level, and it into all like, and it's starting to have an entirely new meaning of like what is really essential here. And so my next book will be a reflection of that, which I'm super excited about because it's so fun to be like this many years into my journey as a cook and still learning, or rather unlearning things that I knew or that I thought were like non-negotiables in the kitchen. And so I'm cooking more simply and I'm feeling pretty excited about it.
Well, I was going to ask you about the book. You brought it up, and I work here at your publisher, so I know a bit about it, and I'm extremely excited. But for the purpose of this interview, what do you want to share about this book and really some of the recipe development, maybe a recipe that you've been working on for it? Because I know you're in the process of writing it right now.
Yeah, so I don't know, I probably have about like 30% of the recipes done. And I won't reveal the title because I haven't announced it to the world yet. And I don't know, I probably should. I don't know when I'm going to do that.
Soon enough. Maybe this spring. Maybe I don't know. Up
I
to
haven't
you.
really thought about that. But this next book is really and truly about meeting home cooks where they are. And the way that it will be organized, and we can get into this obviously on a later date, but the way that it will be organized is like everybody's got a reason that they refuse to cook or decide not to cook on any given night. And it can range from the littlest thing to the biggest thing. And this book is basically broken up as like, you've got a problem, here's the solution. So, like, if your problem is, I fucking hate doing dishes, I've got a recipe that it's a solution for you. Or if
I love it.
your problem is, I work at home all day. Like I technically could cook because I'm home, but I'm on Zooms 9 to 5. I've got recipes for you. Like you're home, you can throw something in the oven as long as it takes 6 minutes to prep and then comes out 5 hours later, like dinner's on the table. And so it's really meant to sort of like answer a problem and get people over that hump.
I can't wait to see it. I know it's going to be visually stunning and interesting. You always have a way with the design. Are you thinking color palettes? Obviously, don't share, but are you thinking you were so iconic going from blue to red?
I know. Everyone's like, we can't wait for the yellow one. And I'm like, part of me is like, let's go black. Like, let's just pull a curveball on everyone because I feel like I'm too predictable at this point. So TBD on that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm sure I'll get a look at it at some point. Well, I can't wait to visit with you about that. And let's wrap this up. On This Is Taste, we ask guests about their discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid fire, fast and furious. Taste check, Molly. Are you ready?
Yes.
The best fruit.
A peach.
Nice. Have you had a good one recently, or are they kind of out?
The peaches this summer were like kind of whack, and I was
Yeah.
pretty disappointed. The nectarines were hitting, but I'll always choose a peach over a nectarine if it's proper.
The worst vegetable.
Oh, beets.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Okay, so with that, have you written a beet recipe?
No, never. Not once in my life.
That's so great. Please continue that trend. The best dessert.
Carrot cake.
Oh yeah. What makes it good, and what's the icing filling?
Oh, that's the cream cheese frosting for sure. And then I like mine like really packed with texture. So like I'm all about give me a walnut, give me a raisin. I basically want it to be like a sweeter version of like a morning glory muffin. Like I really like that journey.
Yeah. Beautiful. Few more. Favorite city outside America to visit for food?
Oh, Paris. But you have to know where to eat.
Yeah.
Not you can't just walk into any old place, that's for sure.
Yeah. Good advice. Your favorite cookbook of all time?
Oh my God, this is such a hard one. I have to say the Flavor Bible, and that is because that is the first, and it's not even really a cookbook. It's more like an ingredients book, but that is the first book that like really ever meant anything to me as a cook. And it blew my mind open in terms of like understanding flavor pairings.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably with recipe development, you turn to it once in a while as well. Favorite recent cookbook discovery?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to share this, but because I don't know exactly when it's coming out, but I got to take a peek at Zainab Issa's forthcoming cookbook, Third Culture Cooking,
Mm-hmm.
and I am obsessed. Like she gets it, and it's beautiful, and the recipes all look so delicious. Do you know when it's coming out?
I don't know offhand, but Zena, that's a terrific idea and author. Last one, most loaded, most fully loaded, and I know this is going to take maybe some effort to answer, but your favorite sandwich?
It's actually not that hard for me to answer. But I will say that like I think my answer has changed over time. At the moment, I am in a cold tuna sandwich like phase in a very serious way. It's something that I really craved during pregnancy, but was limiting my intake of because of mercury levels. And so I feel like I was like deprived of it for a while. And now the craving is even stronger. And so just a really great classic tuna on rye with some pickles, maybe some sliced red onion, squishy bread. That's the jam for me.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do the plug. You gotta put some dill mayo Ayo in there, right? I'll do the plug for you. Nah, Molly, what a pleasure. It's always so fun talking to you, and good luck with the launch.
Thank you so much. I will get you some Ayo ASAP.
I appreciate. Hey Clayton, what is up?
How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. We just heard from Molly, and we heard all about her new Mayo Ayo. I love that. And you know what? We're a few days after the interview, and we have all the products. We have them in front of us.
Finally.
Yeah, thank you for sending us in advance. So what we're going to do is a little taste test. So we have all 4 of the Ayo products here to test. We also have brought in some Hellmann's. We brought in a little Hellmann's as a baseline because Hellmann's is pretty great too. Mm-hmm. So we'll do a little side by side of the original Mayo and Hellmann's. And we've also made cheese sandwiches using our preferred or our favorite without tasting it variety. We have some crudité and some crackers for more dipping style. So let's start going through this, Clayton. What is your initial thought of this product? I want to get your take.
Well, I am not a huge mayo person.
Oh no, we didn't even go over
Well,
that.
In the sense that I'll use it when it's appropriate, obviously. But I don't think I eat a lot of foods that have a ton of mayo, right?
Are you allergic to mayo?
I'm not allergic to mayo. And I enjoy mayo. But it's one of those things where I look at mayo as sort of a special thing, right? Most of my food, like my lunches, are not mayo based, right? But I'm very excited for these because they look very interesting. And I am a Hellmann's guy when I do have mayo. Yeah. So, occasionally when I'll have chicken salad or I'll have egg salad, I do Hellmann's.
Yeah, I think Hellmann's to me is definitely my baseline. I like Duke's as well. We were talking a little off mic about Duke's, and Duke's seems to be a fan favorite. Have you ever tried Duke's?
Duke's didn't reach me when I was a kid in Pennsylvania, and I have not eaten a ton of mayo recently. I'd like to try Duke's, but Hellmann's I do think is a good baseline because everybody sort of knows it. It's been the predominant one for a long time, I think, right? You would say as a food expert.
Expert, light term. I think I'd say like Hellmann's is like the one or Best Foods west of the Mississippi, the same brand. Definitely is like more of the premium mayo. I mean, I grew up with Miracle Whip.
I was just going to ask about Miracle Whip. Now, is that mayonnaise? Because we always were saying that's not mayonnaise.
Nah,
it's too sweet. It's too sweet.
It's a different thing. I mean, I don't know if you remember from the 80s and early 90s, like they would actually market Miracle Whip to like have with fruit.
Yes.
I like Miracle Whip very specifically with like a hard cheddar soft bread sandwich. I think that to me is childhood. But I'm more of like definitely Hellmann's. Not as big of a Koopy fan as many. I think it's a little too much, a little too tart, a little too eggy.
Okay.
Can taste MSG a bit more in that. But I think Hellmann's is my one. So let's actually start with the side-by-side. We've got the original Ayo on one side, and we've got the Hellmann's real mayonnaise on the other side. So I want to do a little side by side. How do you feel about that?
I love that.
Okay, cool. So let's do that. Let's dip it in. Here, I'll hand you.
You're going Ayoh first.
Well, yeah, I'm going Ayoh first, man.
I can reach over.
I've already spilled mayonnaise on our conference table. We're in a temporary studio right now. We've got waters to cleanse our palates between both tastes. So just making sure methodology is out there.
Yes.
I'm gonna do a big. I'm just going.
Do a glob.
A big glob. Now mayonnaise, straight up, is a challenging food for me. I don't love just eating mayonnaise.
Okay.
It's not really my. But we're doing this for tasting. So let's.
Yes.
Taste it. First thing I have is there's more lemon than I'm used to.
I was tasting the acid.
Yeah,
I was tasting the
lemon
acid
or vinegar. It's nice. The finish is really clean and clear. It's not doesn't taste chemically by any means.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so let's go into just do a quick Hellman's. We know what it is. Just so much more familiar, which is obviously they have 100 years head start.
Yeah.
Both are promising though for a good time with a sandwich. So that's the basic.
The Hellman's is a little bit more substantial in a way.
Yeah.
Right? So I could see the Ayoh being better for people who might not like a super thick mayonnaise because Hellman's really brings it. There's no denying that you've got Hellman's on your sandwich. You know?
No, definitely not. I keep going back to the Ayoh. I like the texture of it a lot. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of an aioli. Aioli. Starts with a name. Reminds me of that. Like when you're going to like a cool restaurant, you get that fancy aioli with your fries.
Absolutely. That I was just going to say that is if you're a person who dips your fries in mayo.
Yeah,
that's a mayo to dip your fries.
That's a mayo to dip your fries. Okay, this has been the biggest question. We are moving on to the giardiniera. It's giardiniera in mayo form, bits of pepper, bits of, oh man, I'm like already choking up because I'm excited to try this. Yeah.
Is this the one you're most excited for?
Yeah, this is the one I'm most excited for. It has, just on the just looking at it, it's very Thousand Island-y. That's like kind of what, but it's definitely not going to hit that way. Molly. Man.
Wow.
You have delivered on this promise. There are bits and bursts of pickle and pepper, pickled pepper.
There's a bite.
And there's a bite. You definitely brought the heat. I really, really like it. And I thought I would, and I would be honest if I didn't. Man, I'm liking this.
Ooh, because I feel like I'm talking about all the things I'm not. I'm not a this guy. I'm not a that guy.
Yeah.
Not a spice guy, really.
Yeah.
And this is the right amount of spice because it is like an accent. It doesn't, it's not going to like kill you.
Definitely not going to kill you.
But it's definitely opening your pores in a positive way.
I just like the texture. I think you've really made something that feels like it's handmade, even though I know you're sending these out to all the states and it's going to be a big product, but feels like it's like kind of like one of those cool spreads you're going to get at a restaurant. And I'm going to return to that with our future taste test with other kind of like more of an application. So let's move on. The Dijonnaise. I'm a fan of Dijonnaise.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever have had Dijonnaise.
I have had Dijonnaise.
Yeah. Are you a fan? Or?
Oh, yeah.
So this is like their version, but I remember Molly in the interview recalls that this has got bits of mustard seed, and I can just tell from the consistency, just from looking at it, there's some texture going on here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's dig in. How about that? Lots and lots of bursts in there. I'm liking it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm liking it. And I'm seeing what Molly was saying when she said it could be used as a dip, because I'm going to return to that with maybe some crackers.
Yeah.
To be clear, by the way, this is not paid. We're doing this because we think it's fun and a cool product. Just to be clear, there's no money changing hands. This is all for fun.
Oh, yeah. I do like it. I mean, I think that is the thing that we're seeing with these is that they're not just like for sandwiches. Like you really could put this in a little cup and do some dipping.
It's definitely less Dijon and more honey. is I think it's like sweeter. I'm not like getting that extreme bite of a Dijon, which I think is intentional here. My read is that it's more mild than like a hardcore Molly Dijon or any of those homemade ones. So.
Let me try. I'm not tasting the honey. Maybe I'm just.
I just think it's leaning more towards honey.
Okay.
It's not a honey mustard by any means, but it's sweeter than just a straight Dijon, and that's clearly from the Ayoh mayo being integrated into it.
Yes. Yeah.
Last one was, I feel like just from the interview, Molly was super jazzed about this one the most, if I could read her reaction, which is the dill pickle mayo, the dill pickle Ayoh, which from a texture and consistency-wise, it's got a light shade of green. It's really appealing on the eyes.
This is the one I'm most excited for.
Yeah, I think this is the one that I was most excited when the press release came out. So there's bits of dill, and there's little bits of pickle. So they're doing dill two ways.
Love it.
All right, let's try this. Man.
I'm trying to get the best bite because this is the one I'm most excited, but I got to just go for it.
I like this a lot. I really, really like this. This is terrific. This is exactly what I think about with like fried pickles, going to like Wisconsin and having like a dill pickle dip to go with that. I really like it. It's intense. It's definitely the kind of product that you have to be definitely down with the dill. 3Ds there. Definitely down with the dill. I feel like it's really delivering on a promise for dill lovers out there. What do you think?
I love it. I do think the dill itself tastes really fresh, right?
Yeah.
Like, shockingly, for like a packaged product.
Yeah.
And then the bits of pickle. The thing about this one that's good too is that there's enough of each that they complement each other. And I, with all the dips the mayos that have pieces of things in them, they feel like, you were saying homemade. They do feel like rough chopped in a way that they don't feel factory produced.
Definitely not.
And I feel like this is the same thing. It's just
vibe.
Sort of like, oh, I made this cool thing for a dinner party.
Yep.
So you're going for crackers, right?
Yeah, but now it's like more of a freestyle. So we've got crackers, some crudité, some raw carrots and broccoli, and then we've got, of course, Martin's potato roll bread, and we each have put our own select Ayoh on each one. So I'm going straight cracker. Let's just freestyle a bit.
Yeah. I'm going the dill on the cracker.
I went Giardineo. Yep. Yeah, this is, sorry for the chewing sounds. This is a Taste Test podcast.
Are you apologizing to me because I'm going to have to edit it?
Yeah, definitely you. Wow, that was a little spicier than I thought. Wow. Good.
I'm going in with
Giardineo. Yeah, these are really working as dips for me. I'm seeing the lane. It doesn't feel like it's only mayonnaise. It's more of like a dippy spread.
Now, was that the aim?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
Now I got to go for the.
All right, I'm gonna do crudité, like a piece of broccoli with the pickle. I feel that's the one.
Now, I'm still doing a cracker.
Yeah.
When it comes to crackers, what is your philosophy on crackers? Should they have their own taste, or do you think the best cracker is one that is a conveyance for what you're dipping?
I think, Clayton, it's a great question. I think a cracker, when you're pairing it with cheese, should just be the vehicle for delivering the cheese. I don't want any of that nuttiness or warmness, so cheese is the exception. But most of the time, I like to taste the cracker a little bit. Mm-hmm. I like to taste the cracker, and I like to taste, if it's a sesame cracker, you're getting a little sesame seeds, which would then complement the spread.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going in with a crudité with the dill.
Yeah, I might do that too. I'm going to go. I'm going carrot.
So to be clear, I dipped a similar style of dip as I would of like a spinach avocado dip. I added that much to it. Mm-hmm. And what's working here is that this it's not overpowering. It doesn't taste like it's cloying mayonnaise. It feels like a real spread.
Yeah.
And you could put these out for a little party and have like a little mix and match, and people wouldn't think they're eating just straight mayonnaise.
And that's the thing with having the Hellmann's there.
Yeah, I'm going.
You're sitting with this glob, this unmoving glob that is Hellmann's, and it's its thing, right? It's its own thing. But when you taste it after you taste these.
Yeah, I just did that exact thing. I put a glob of Hellmann's on a cracker, and like I like Hellmann's, but it doesn't feel natural to me. So this is delivering on the promise. Let's do our final little test, which is our cheese sandwiches. Now, I put Giardineo on mine, and you put regular on yours.
I regret going boring.
You can update it.
I might take a bite with the regular and then upgrade. Now, I know you're eating, but cheese sandwich, potato bread, is that your go-to?
It's not really my go-to. I like a little bit more texture with my bread. I went there. This is my go-to looking at the choices downstairs, which is actually a nice bodega.
Yeah.
We've mentioned it many times on the show. It's quite the place. I like it enough, and I love it obviously with a burger. I love a Martin's potato bun on a burger.
Mm-hmm.
A sliced bread is not my choice. It feels a little too processed, and I like a little crustier bread.
Yeah.
But it's not bad.
No.
What do you think?
I'm liking it. I'm thinking, what should be my next? I mean, I really love the dill. I want to see how the Giardineo works on here.
Yeah, I'm going to dip. I'm going to do the unprecedented move. I'm going to dip my sandwich into the Dijoneo, which probably would be my choice now. I think Dijoneo maybe works better with a cheese sandwich than Giardineo.
Okay.
That's just my thought. I am going a little crazy here.
This is our lunch, by the way.
Uh-huh. Okay, revelation. With the cheese and bread, the Dijoneo is presenting more as Dijon than eating it straight or dipping it with crudité or a cracker.
Okay.
It's much more balanced and I would say more desirable, or I would say it's more of a positive experience than dipping. I don't think I would dip a cracker in the Dijoneo. I would use it as a sandwich spread.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to do the dill now. I'm just going to dip it in. The dill pickle on a sandwich, that's my number one.
Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah. I feel like that would have been the choice to start.
I'm going a little crazy here, Molly. I'm going a little crazy. I'm going extra with the dipping.
Yeah.
It's not my usual style, but it's working for me.
This is all for research.
Research.
Yeah.
So any last thoughts about Ayoh and what they're doing here, Clayton?
Well, we haven't mentioned the look, the packaging, which I really love because it gives me that feel of like an old-fashioned sort of burger stand or hot dog stand. I love that. I like the font. I think it's fun. It's fun packaging. I could see somebody stopping in the aisle and looking at this for sure, purely based on what it looks like.
It feels like it's channeling like 1950s.
Yeah.
Early cartoons, early animation, like early signage of hamburger shops.
Which, when I think of Mayo, I do sort of think of, Betty Crocker recipes and things, like casseroles and stuff, and the 50s and that sort of look. So this really does invoke that for me. I would say the dill is my fave.
I'm agreeing. I think dill is definitely my favorite for a sandwich. It's really innovative.
Mm-hmm.
My overall thought is that this is a pleasant surprise that it is not too sweet. And I think so many condiments tend to lean sweeter, which of course makes sense. Americans love sweet, and our palate is trained to love sweet and crave sweet, but I don't think there's been compromises here. So I'm really appreciating that. The standard mayo, I need more time with. I think I'd like to make some tuna salad with it.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to make tuna salad with the dill pickle mayo.
Yeah.
That to me sounds pretty great.
Yeah, I think the only reason it's hard to get a read on the original was because the other ones are so dynamic.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I started out with the original mayo on my sandwich, my cheese sandwich, and it was really good. I liked it a lot. But with all the other options, I felt like, well, I got to make this sandwich sexy. So that's when we started doing all the different dippings and things. But I think as a standard mayo, it does have a good quality. It's just like you said, I think we'd have to use it in like egg salad, chicken salad, tuna salad, something like that to really see like, okay, how does this work compared to some of the other brands?
I agree fully. I think that's a great call. I mean, the giardiniera had the most upshot when she was telling me about it. And I'm thinking it's more of a dip than a spread on a sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the one that I'm most interested in still. Maybe I'm trying to figure it out a little bit.
So is Mayo a crowded group?
Yeah, I think it's like when it comes to the big brands, there's several. We mentioned some at the top of this convo, and I think you've got upstart brands. You've got like Sir Kensington's has a Mayo line, or I know they're kind of sunsetting that brand. It's definitely, I would imagine they did their research that there's definitely a big opportunity here.
Yeah.
And particularly Molly mentions it in the interview in food service. So obviously that's the major play here. They want to obviously get interest from the consumer side and get these on the grocery store shelves, but then of course get some bigger brands in food service to do an Ayoh exclusive, like at Big Mike's or at Jersey Michael's. Jersey Michael's. Yeah, Jersey Michael's is definitely the one I was thinking about. I said Big Mike's, but that was a Madison, Wisconsin reference from the early 2000s.
Jersey Michael's is a very formal way to refer to that sub shop.
I'm stealing it from Throwing Fits. That's what they call it.
Oh,
so
nice.
That's me, a tribute to those guys.
Give respect where respect is due.
I'm talking with my mouth full because I can't stop eating this stuff. So obviously that's a real testament.
Mm-hmm.
I've also been quite hungry. I've been doing episodes all morning, and this is our lunch. So
yeah,
I'm just kidding. No, I like it. I'm pulling for this brand. I like Molly a lot, and I think this is a really interesting way to bring some real culinary smarts. Looking at trend, giardiniera has obviously been very big in the last couple of years. Pickled, fermented, spicy condiments, and then of course taking on Dijonnaise. Dill pickle is a brand new category changer. I'm into it. I'm buying this stuff. I'm going to maybe gift it this holiday. So I'm into it.
I think if you gave me a set of Ayoh as a present this Christmas, I'd be pretty happy about it.
Nice. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts. It was fun chatting, Clayton.
Absolutely. You too.
This is Taste is hosted by Eliza Abarbanel and me, Matt Rodbar. The show is produced by Shalia Harris and Pat Stango and edited by Clayton Gumbert. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter for updates on all cool things that are happening.